It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. That's how I would have to look back and describe the first year or so of my son's life. Now, my son turns 23 in May. So this is going back a few years. My son was born healthy, and everything we thought was off to a good start. I went back to work after taking a couple of weeks off. My wife was fortunate that she was a stay-at-home mom and was able to stay home with him. I would come home from work, though, and I would notice that my wife was still in her pajamas. And we had had the chicken stir-fry bag meal for the 5th or 6th time that week. My son developed colic relatively early, and sleep was something that evaded him and as well us. Found that he would sleep if we kept him moving, and so we would sleep in shifts. She would sleep for 2 hours because he woke up about every 2 to 4 hours. So she would take one shift, get him back to sleep. I would try to sleep for a couple of hours, take another shift, and go about that. We made many, many drives around the apartment complex, on the road, about 20 miles down the road, coming back. We found that doing laundry at 2 a.m. was a wonderful thing because you could put him in his little bouncy chair and sit it on the dryer, and it worked wonder. We got our laundry done, quite often looking very rapidly around the apartment. What else can we wash? We need to find something else to wash, because I wasn't about to just run it for nothing, although that thought did cross my mind a few times. We changed his formula, and he was able to, the colic subsided. But my wife still was looking rather sleep deprived and not doing real well. She started having night terrors. First time she woke up, or woke me up, I guess, talking to herself and turning into a scream. Eyes wide open, not really, not awake but not asleep. Started, taking her into the doctor to find out what was going on. We were scared. She was scared. I was scared. Found out that she was having some postpartum depression. So we continued seeing the doctor. They started her off on medications. Now, some of you that have been here for other months know that I'm a pharmacist. And as a pharmacist, I know what medications do. But when you are deeply embroiled in a situation, you don't always see it for what it is. And so she would develop a side effect, and what would we do? We would add another medication. She would be on that and develop a side effect, and we would add another medication. It was not uncommon for her to call me at work and have me come home in the middle of the day. And I remember one time that she called. I said, okay, I'm involved in something. I'll get there as soon as I can. I got home, and she was standing in my son's bedroom holding him and crying. And I said, what's wrong? And she says, well, I tried to leave, but Corey, my son, threw the keys. So she had tried to leave, knew that I was on my way home, and that he would be okay because I would be home soon. She had actually been sitting at the end of the block watching to see until I got home, and it was taking a little bit longer, so she decided that she had to go in and check on him and realized that he had messed his diaper, and so changing him, and in the process she must have handed him her car keys, and he tossed them, and they ended up going underneath the changing table. So I got home to find this situation. Well, this had us all very scared, and there were a couple of nights. I remember one night waking up, we were at my cousin's visiting family, and we had been sleeping there on her floor on an air mattress, waking up as my wife was trying to leave the front of the house, really saying that, you would be so much better off without me. Just, let me go and you raise our son. You would be so much better off because I'm not a fit mother right now. This went on for about 1.5 years or so. And I remember it very well. It was November, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And we had gone and had dinner with her mom, and we were staying with her grandmother. We hadn't planned on staying, so we ran up to the pharmacy where we both met. She was a technician and I had been a pharmacy student. We went up there to pick up a couple of toiletries because we hadn't planned on spending the night. We did have the playpen. Those things are wonderful, aren't they? We had the playpen with us, and that's where my son was going to sleep. But we needed a few things, you know, brushing teeth, deodorant, that type of thing. And she broke down in tears. I don't know why you're still with me. You would be so much better off on your own. Now, I need to tell you that I was raised in a Christian home, believed in Jesus and in my faith, but I will tell you that it was that night for the first time that I ever said my first honest-to-God prayer. Because I knew that I couldn't handle what had been dealt to me and that I was going to need help. We went back home that night. I slept with my keys to the vehicle in my jeans because I didn't want to risk her leaving. Decided that next Monday that I was going to go into her psychiatrist and tell them that I was taking her off of all of her medications. It was against medical advice. They said, we don't really recommend that. I said, I don't care. She needs to come off of her meds. She's in this deep cloud and she needs to come off of them. Took over the next month or so, and shortly after the first of the year, I believe it was the beginning of February, she woke up and she said, the sun's out. What a beautiful day. And it was. She had been taken off of her medication, the cloud had lifted, the depression was gone, and that's my story of how we were both saved. Thank you very much.